Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Dayang Siti Hazar, and today I would like to present in the topic of the concept of Restyle in Baroque Da Capo Aria Ornamentation. So the objective for this research is to identify the concept of Restyle in Baroque Da Capo Aria Ornamentation. And the second one is to determine an engineering, symbiotic, and reasoning approach to the ornamentation of classical Western classical music and Melayu Asli. So this is what I found from my literature review, which is the Western classical music ornamentation Baroque, where it is divided into 6 parts, which is trill, morgan, turn, grace note, melodic alteration, and cadence. For trill, we can divide it into several, which is the alternate trill, prefix and suffix, which is the intro and the front parts before the trill and also the end part after the trills, prepared trill, proud trill, and batuta. For morgan, we have lower morgan, upper morgan, and schnatter, and also a double morgan. For turn, we have turn, which is direct turn or full turn, which is gruppetto or inverted turn. Grace note, there are acciaccatura, appoggiatura, double appoggiatura, and also nashlag. Melodic alteration, diminution, augmentation, and trillo, which is cadence is the last one, cadenza and cadential trill. So this is the ornamentation that have in Western classical singing, especially in Baroque period. So we move on to the next one, which is the Malay ornamentation or lagu Melayu Asli ornamentation, where from the literature review, it will be concluded that ornamentation also called lenggok in lagu Melayu Asli. So lenggok is a very wide terms that being used, but it is unknown for sure what is the specific lenggok is, whether it is ornamentation or it is melismatic or it is chenkok. So I will put lenggok in several places where sometimes it being used as ornamentation or also chenko, also in melismatic. Right. From the conclusion here, so ornamentation or lenggok lagu Melayu Asli is also can be melismatic or lenggok because it is in singing, but it is different with instrumental. It can be divided into 4, which is cengkok or lenggok, because the cengkok terms is widely used in Malay, Indonesian Malay. But in Malaysian Malay, we usually use the terms of lenggok. And grenek, second one is grenek, which is we have sometimes with prefix and suffix. And some of the person that I interviewed said there are some terms that they call it layang in the grenek. And also patah lagu, which is they have a various definition on patah lagu. Some of them said it is the phrasing, and some of them will say it's kind of ornamentation in the phrasing. So I would like to take it as ornamentation in the phrasing. So the fourth one is bunga, which is if translate into English, call it the flower. So bunga will have 3, which is the grace note, morgan, and turn or gruppetto. If you can see here, the colors is green, which is green means it is the same. It almost the same with the Western classical, but the approach is slightly different. So grace note, mordent, and turn or gruppetto. So I use, because it's the notes especially, it's quite the same with the Western. So I use the Western classical terms, because in Melayu Asli, it's usually in oral, it is in oral learning. So the students need to follow the teachers without explaining what is that type of ornamentation that they do, just following how the sound is. So crest knot will have acciacatura, appoggiatura, and double appoggiatura, mordent, upper mordent, lower mordent, double mordent, and turn or gruppetto, turn, direct turn, full turn, or inverted turn. So if you see the colors, brown here is originally only have in Malay ornamentation, which makes the Malay, the lagu Melayu Asli ornamentation is, we call it Melayu Asli ornamentation, which is the differences between the Western and also the Malay. So if the Restyle concept, which is the combination of the symbiotic of the Western ornamentation and also Malay ornamentations, Melayu Asli ornamentation. This is the conclusion of it, which is Restyle ornamentation in Da Capo Aria. Melismatic online book, we have 4 divisions, which is trill, bunga, melodic alteration, and cadenza. So trill will be divided into Greek trill, prefix and suffix. And the blue color here, the trill, the trill, prefix, suffix, prefix, and trill is from Western. Right. The Greek trill and trill is almost the same, but what is the differences is Greek trill is the approach of Greek trill, and trill, the Western trill, is different. So I spared it these two. I would not call it the same. And also both will have prefix and suffix. And bunga, which is grace note, mordent, and turn. Whereas this one is similar, which with Malay ornamentation and also Western ornamentation, but of course the approach is will still be the same, which is the techniques. Okay, grace note will have acciacatura, appoggiatura, double appoggiatura, and nashlak. Mordent will have upper mordent, schnelle or lower mordent, double mordent. Turn will have turn or gruppetto and inverted turn. So the third one is melodic alteration, which is, this is where the melodic alteration comes with 2 kinds of melodic alteration, which is diminution, augmentation, and harmony from Western classical, and also aided with Malay ornamentation, which is cengkok and patah lagu. And the last one will be cadenza, which is in Malay ornamentation, we always have the nada penyelesaian, which is basically, it's the cengkok in the end of the phrasing. So now we move on to methodology and creative artistic process. So the method that I use in this research is the practice-led method, which is under the action research or practice-related, which is practice-led research method, where the potential of the original nature of the practice is expanded to new knowledge by taking into account the operational importance to the continuity of the practice discussed in the creative process method. So, which is, we can see that it's expand the potential of the original nature, which is the original works, expand the potential, and also need to look into the operational importance, continuity in the process, in the creative process of this method. So practice-led is, practice-led is the original nature of practice and in turn leads to new knowledge that has operational significance for the practice. The result of the practice research may be fully reflected in the writing without including creative work. The main focus of research is to advance knowledge of practice or to improve knowledge in practice, often categorized under general study section research. This is from Candy 2006, which is the definition of practice-led. And this is my creative process, which is the creative process, the substitution of thoughts and action that lead to the originality and expediency of the produced product. This is from Bluebird and et al. 2015 and 2001, which is the according to Bluebird, the creative process have two levels, which is macro level and also micro level. Macro level is stage in the creative process. Micro level is the mechanism that underlie creative process, such as divergent thinking or convergent thinking, which I will explain to the next slide. As in Words 2002, do not propose the linear but dynamic and repetitive model as far as the artistic process is under constant influence over a variety of factors, including the development of other production. So for artistic process, from Men's and Word, they say that the process will have four, which is conception, development, realization, and also finalization, which is you make the concept in and realization it, and also will come with the finalization of product. And this is the phases of thinking in the creative process. Creative artistic process will have two, which is intuitive process creative and critical creative process for this research. Which is intuitive process creative is also known as divergent, which is where your imagination, creative thinking, horizontal, the non-linear part or the brainstorming parts, where you will have the questions and the ideas comes. Questions and ideas come. And for the next one, which is the critical creative process, which is known as convergent, where the logic comes, not imagination, it's the logic one. Critical thinking, vertical, lattice, and linear, where the fact give your answer. You read the fact first, and then it will give you the answer. This is where the literature review always comes in. You the reading parts or the where's your have the knowledge on the fact that will give you answer, where the answer where the answer is answering the question in the intuitive process creative that will give you the ideas. Where when these two combines, it will be called as lateral thinking, which is thinking outside the box. This is the artistic creative process in performance, which is the process, the process in performance. So we will start with the singer, where the singer will have her or his own culture around his tradition, customs, and norms. And this will divide it into two, which is me. Is me, the singer is me. So we'll divide it into two because of my previous education and also environment. So I have two which is Western classical ornamentation. This is where the Da Capo Aria parts comes. Da Capo Aria means like in Baroque era, for aria, they always have the form of ABA, which is the repetition of A. We call it Da Capo Aria. The repetition of A will the singers always do embellishment in that parts. So the other background that I have is Melayu Asli ornamentation, which is I have learned Melayu Asli, singing in Melayu Asli orally. So these two is giving me inspiration and give me the ideas of freestyle concept there when you can see the gray color is very, very shallow because the concept is there, but to develop the concept, it still need to have the convergent parts. So from inspiration, I will divide it into derivative ideation and also symbiotic ideation. Then it will go to creative artistic process. When creative artistic process, where comes the convergent and divergent parts that make the lateral, where the fact and also the questions and ideas come together, then it will build the Restyle concept. And with the critical thinking of Restyle concept, it will go into the reflection to singer's reflection, and it will be non-linear process. Okay, it will be over and over and over again. Move on to the next one. Critical creative process. Critical creative process is the creative ideas obtained through critical thinking that is convergent. It's the one that I've mentioned before. Knowledge of creative ideas is obtained linearly and analytically and objectively. I have two process, which is research and planning and also finalization. An intuitive creative process, which is creative idea obtained through creative thinking that is divergent. Knowledge of creative ideas is obtained non-linearly, generatively, and subjectively. Here is I have 5 process, which is inspiration, ideation, reflection, evaluation, and also presentation. So now let's move on to the concept of Restyle. So the concept of Restyle built with the 3 policies, which is engineered, symbiosis, and reasoning. Engineer is a genetic engineer, symbiosis is mutualism, and reasoning is inductive and deductive reasoning. For the first policies, which is engineered is the application of elements of knowledge, culture, etc. in planning, works, mechanism, etc. as the basis of implementing something. This is the definition from Kamus Dewan Edisi keempat. The concept of engineered is based on genetic engineered, which involves manipulation of the properties of the specific element. Although the concept of genetic engineered is widely used in the field of biotechnology, this term is borrowed as an element that builds the concept of Restyle in creative presentation. Genetic engineered is the basis for the development of the concept of Restyle, which is the transfer of the nature of the Melayu Asli song culture ornamentation to the nature of Western classical ornamentation culture in producing creative and novel performances. Then next, move on to the next one, which is the second policies in the concept, which is symbiosis. Biological interaction. Symbiosis is a biological interaction between 2 organisms of different species over a short or long periods of time and produce a relationship of mutualism, commensalism, and amensalism for parasite. So in this concept, for Restyle, there are only a symbiosis mutualism, which is a relationship between two organisms of different species but mutually beneficial to each other. Through this relationship, it means that both cultural traits benefit each other and do not cause harm to each other. These two culture attributes complement each other to benefit from the production of novel creativity. Then move on to the last policies, which is reasoning. Reasoning is the process of using existing knowledge to draw conclusion, make prediction, or build explanation. Therefore, the concept of Restyle is also based on the basis of reasoning as a conclusion, explanation, and prediction of policies of genetic engineering and symbiosis of mutualism. Two methods of reasoning that underlies the concept of Restyle are deductive and inductive.